We also have a few storms in Duval County. We'll go there in a minute, but let's get a wrap on this storm that's now moving into through Camden and extreme northern Nassau County. Everybody in St. Mary's should be in a place of safe shelter right now already, as this possible tornado is in the vicinity of St. Mary's, and it continues to build southward pretty steadily now. It's pretty obvious now, and moving to the east, I would argue east-southeast, Corey, now at about 25 miles per hour. So let's track the leading edge of the heaviest rain, Corey. And again, this is, if you just joined us, a tornado warning for a possible tornado near the Florida-Georgia border. This would be about 40 miles north of Jacksonville, well within our viewing area, though. And that's the leading edge of the storm now. And that means high winds, certainly some heavy rain. That's moving into Cumberland Island, Dungeness then at 519. Fernandina Beach Junior High School neighborhood at 542. That's the rain part of this storm. And then Fernandina Beach at 545. But any more of a turn to the southeast here brings Fernandina Beach very much into play for the most dangerous part of this storm. So we'll keep you updated in Fernandina Beach and nearby areas. And all areas between Fernandina Beach and St. Mary's now are in that tornado warning that is in effect. So we have a tornado warning for Camden and extreme northern Nassau County, but you might be hearing some thunder here in Duval County. And this is why. We have some showers and thunderstorms that have developed right over the middle of Duval County. This is a sea breeze moving inland with this green lines help trigger the storm. So as these storms meet up with the sea breeze, they'll likely intensify over the next few minutes. And we are seeing some occasional lightning in here, some pretty heavy rain in the vicinity of downtown. These storms don't look as intense as what we're seeing now in Camden County in Georgia. Other intensifying thunderstorms moving across Highway 17 into Green Cove Springs, across the St. Johns River into western St. Johns County over the next few minutes. Switzerland and nearby spots will be impacted. And then we have another little cell that'll move out near Mayport here. Any of these storms will likely have the potential to intensify here over the next 15 to 30 minutes. The overall atmosphere is not conducive for widespread severe weather or even tornadoes, but sometimes you get these interactions of storms on an afternoon like this, and you'll get a severe storm like we're seeing now in far southeastern Georgia, and these storms would have that potential to briefly become intense or even severe too as they continue to move east-northeast at about 25 miles per hour. But the reason we're on right now with nonstop coverage, and we'll get back to our local newscast as soon as the danger has passed, is a tornado warning that's in effect now for eastern and southeastern portions of Camden County, with the southern edge of that storm just into northern Nassau County that's also included in the tornado warning. Corey is zooming in now. Let's check out some of these rainfall rates in here, because I'll bet they're through the roof, Corey, right? Given the color, plus there's probably what we call some hail contamination. You get hail in there and it increases the rainfall rates, but this is probably pretty true. 2 inches per hour. Now, it's not raining for a full hour, but just a half hour of rain means you get an inch of rain out of this storm. So it is putting down the rain. Here's an update coming in from the National Weather Service, Corey, on the tornado warning. Looks like they're going to go ahead and keep it in effect.
Yeah, until 5:45, Mike.
Okay.
You know, we have the heavy rain. This storm has a history of producing hail, relatively small hail, only about pea size. That was back in Kingsland. This does not have a history of producing tornadoes. You don't always need that, though. And the tornado warning continues. Kings Bay Base, St. Mary's. It looks to us, or it looks to me, like the most intense part of the storm where we would see a tornado develop is east of St. Mary's. I'm going to switch back to the velocity mode here so we can look at the wind, see what this storm is trying to do. And there's some really bright pixels in here. You want the green and the red to get really bright or hot, and you want them to be right next together. That is wind shear actually personified or showed on the radar. And there's some pixels here. You see, we go from the green to even light blue. That's potentially very high wind. Now, that's in one direction. The green and the blue, that is wind toward the radar. It's blowing toward the radar, which is down at Jacksonville International Airport, which is kind of down here, at least from this perspective. Now, we also have the red. The red is wind away from the radar. So you have away and you have toward right next to each other. That's how you get the circulation and the wind shear right there. But Mike, at least to me right now, it doesn't look like we have anything in terms of a tornado imminent. We got to watch these really bright pixels right there.
Right.
Sometimes radars they aren't right. Sometimes they show us buildings, bugs, birds, other stuff that isn't weather stuff. So we got to watch that carefully. The tornado warning does continue. And like we've been saying, the storm, Mike, is trying to turn a little more to the right, including Fernandina Beach.
Which is an indication of a very intense storm. Let's go to GR2 storm analyst Corey. I've got that exactly where I want it located. While you were talking there, I ran into the weather office, jumped in there and adjusted our location a little bit. And here is First Alert storm analyst. And this is that main core of heavy rain, which you're typically see with radar, right? That's the heavy rainfall, very heavy rainfall rates, still some hail indicated as it moves into St. Mary's. But this is what we call rotational velocities on here. We'll show you a little extra weather type stuff in a situation like this, right? And where you see that blue mixed in with a little bit of green, it looks to me to be the gust front, Corey, with some strong winds. Now we're going to switch that to the debris signature. And as we do that, this shows us where there might be debris. If there were to be debris with a tornado on the ground, we'd look for typically a circle of different colors, typically a blue color in this case. And we're not seeing it, Corey. There certainly is a gust front on here with strong winds, maybe 50 to 60 miles per hour. That can down trees and power lines. But we're not seeing a true, what I would call, debris ball per se. But the southern end of this storm still looks suspicious very near St. Mary's, Corey. Suspicious
is the word, Mike. And yeah, over time, as this storm is evolving and changing a little bit, we got to keep an eye on this, especially the southern end of it, south of St. Mary's. Now we're talking extreme northern Nassau County in northeast Florida. The tornado warning, again, it just includes the northern tip of Amelia Island and northern Nassau County. We're going to have to watch this, though. Usually when we see that outflow, that kind of dotted green line and what Mike was talking about with the rotational velocities, that's usually, not always, a good sign that the storm has kind of done its thing. It's pushing the cool air out from underneath it, and we're going to start to see the storm weaken. Every so often, and it can happen with tornadic storms, you can get that little boundary that pops up on the southern edge of a storm, and a storm can latch onto that, and it can actually work to strengthen the circulation, potentially the storm as well. That's something we got to keep an eye on. Mike said it. We have these little hooks and curves every now and again on the southern edge of this storm. We got to keep an eye on that. Can't let our guard down. We still have the tornado warning until 5:45. That's a long time from right now, or at least in the grand scheme of things, more than 20 minutes still. So southern Cumberland Island, the extreme northern tip of Amelia Island. Mike said a few minutes ago, a lot of this is just marshland along the state line. But storms can also move erratically. And if there are tornadoes, they can move erratically too. They can suddenly jump to the north, suddenly jump to the south, Mike.
And we will see that little boundary here that we're looking at that you were talking about, the cooler air pushed out by the storm. It kind of acts like a mini cool front. That's going to meet up with or is probably meeting with the sea breeze right now. So this storm will likely continue to try to build southward, and there may be some new storms that develop. Meanwhile, we also have some storms right here at home in Jacksonville, Duval County, so to speak, right? And Tower Cam, I noticed that the control room has that set up to show this heavy rain now that's moving right across the St. Johns River. Nice shot here as heavy storms move through Duval County. There are no warnings for Duval County, but these storms have some very heavy rain, gusty winds, and lightning. And there it is, crossing right across the St. Johns River. That's a pretty impressive shot. And then, Corey, I think it would do us well to look at Fernandina Beach, First Alert Skycam Network, because that is pointed right toward these storms looking to the north and to the northwest. So there we just saw on radar the storms that are moving through downtown Jacksonville. And there it is, Fernandina Beach. Boy, that's a nice shot. This is the shelf cloud, the leading edge of the storm that's producing likely gusty winds. And then once that moves overhead, very heavy rain. This is the area of very heavy rain where it becomes kind of this slate sky looking color here, uniform color. And the little bit of coloration here of blue mixed with green here might be an indication of some of that hail, which so far has been relatively small, and there's some lightning too. But this is an impressive storm now moving toward Fernandina Beach, which technically is not in the tornado warning. That tornado warning is sitting right on the north edge of Fernandina Beach, but any more of a southeast move, at least the storm moves in there. I kind of suspect the tornado warning will be allowed to expire, perhaps even discontinued a little bit early. In fact, here's an update coming in right now. They're going to cancel the tornado warning momentarily. So there you go. Severe thunderstorm warning with tornado possible will remain in effect. So Let's just wrap this up right here, right now. We'll go back to local news programming here in just a second. The tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire. We are still tracking a very intense thunderstorm, obviously here just to the north and northwest of Fernandina Beach. We have a few storms moving through Duval, Clay, St. John's that we'll watch carefully. But the big show, so to speak, is over extreme northern Nassau into southeastern Camden County. And that's where a severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for the possibility of hail, certainly very heavy rain, and possibly strong and damaging winds. Heads up for Fernandina Beach, and we'll have your complete full first alert forecast and, of course, update you on these storms as they move across the area as we go through the next hour, now hour and 6 minutes through 6:30 on CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News. Jackson, in the meantime, back to the news desk.
All right, Mike, thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll see you right after the break.